Schools Work podcast, a podcast for everyone in education. This show is brought to you by the Southern Regional Education Board. At SREB, we believe that every school has the potential to be great. Whatever you do in the school, whatever your job may be, let's talk about things that make schools work.
Welcome to the Making Schools Work podcast. I'm Daniel Rock, and I'm here with Susan Simpson. Susan Simpson is one of our leadership coaches. We are excited to have Tuscaloosa City Schools College and Career Readiness team with us. We are here with Dr. John Walker, Kelly Norstrom, and Andrea Markham. And I would like you each to tell us what your job is in Tuscaloosa City Schools and sort of give us the super quick sort of story of what led you to this position in Tuscaloosa. We'll start with Dr. John Walker.
So I am the coordinator of testing for Tuscaloosa City Schools, but before I was in that role, I was an instructional specialist with the district focusing on technology and career technical education. And so that's how I got to work with these two lovely ladies.
Kelly?
I am Kelly Norstrom. I am the director of College and Career Readiness for Tuscaloosa City Schools. And I came to Tuscaloosa as a career tech director, and my position morphed into a CCR director, which has some high school components to it. And now I do CCR and a little bit of other stuff, but CCRs are my main gig.
And Andrea?
Yep. So I currently serve in a very interesting capacity in Tuscaloosa City Schools. I am the data analyst and counseling administrator by title, but I still retain kind of my service in this role of coordinator of post-secondary engagement. In my former life, though, I was a high school counselor. So I feel like this is my jam, like connecting kids to opportunities that they maybe don't even know exist yet is kind of my sweet spot.
So Kelly is the director of College and Career Readiness. Dr. John Walker is the sort of head of testing and assessment. And Andrea, you're kind of like, it sounds like almost like a chief counselor. How would you describe what you do, Andrea?
Yeah, so supporting our elementary, middle, and high school counselors, really. We've got 31 throughout the district. So just building systems and structures of support that empower them to do their job, which I think is ultimately to serve our kids.
Susan, have you been working in Tuscaloosa City Schools, have you not?
I have. And Tuscaloosa City Schools is one of those places that is always trying to innovate. We worked with them in several capacities. We work with their district literacy team through several grants. And then we also work with their assistant principals in a leadership network academy and directly in the schools. And so this is another part of the innovation right now in Tuscaloosa City Schools. And when I first met these three people, these three brilliant educators, I didn't really know a lot about their work. I didn't work with them directly. But after they started talking, the synergy just created in a couple of minutes from talking to them made me want to be part of this podcast. That's why I'm here today. And so thank you for letting me be a part of it. They're doing something different, right? They're not just talking about college and career readiness. They're really doing something about it. And so I can't wait for you to hear their passion, their strategies, and the data they have to back up what they're saying.
I think this episode is going to be wonderful for anybody who's trying to make their curriculum more relevant to student interests and career goals, and to school and district leaders trying to help students have a plan. When students have a plan, they have a purpose. And we know that purpose in school increases engagement, increases participation, increases curiosity. So they're building schools and a school system with a purpose for connecting students K-12 with the world of college and the world of careers. And I'm really excited for everyone to hear about the amazing work they've been doing. I want to start by asking you, if you were to go back in time and you were a student, which program or opportunity that you've brought to this district that you're now doing do you wish you had and might have helped you when you were a young person? Whoever wants to jump in, go for it.
I'll start. I am particularly proud of the fact that all of our high school buildings have career coaches. And that's one person that they can go to. And when I was in high school, we didn't have that. We didn't have anybody that was giving you that guidance. The counselors were working in other roles, some roles they shouldn't have been working in. They looked more like administrators than they did counselors. So I like the fact that we have career coaches in place that support our kids and that give them guidance that they might not be getting in other realms.
What does a career coach do?
Anything we ask her to. No, our career coaches are great. Their primary responsibility is to make sure that our kids have a confirmed post-secondary plan when they graduate high school and that they've earned a college and career readiness indicator. They also have the responsibility of making sure that if the kids are going to college, that they know the FAFSA and to make sure that they have the opportunity to get on our platforms to do some exploration with our colleges. So just all things that relates, they are our boots on the ground in the buildings.
It's the connectedness with the students and their families, and also the collaboration with the other folks who are supporting students. I feel like it's their administrators, the relationships with their administrators in the buildings, the school counselors in the buildings. Like nobody works in isolation. And I feel like that collaborative piece is huge at what we're able to get done.
Andrea, if you were to go back in time, what is your school district doing now that you wish young Andrea had an opportunity to connect with?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I would have known my school counselor's name. I feel like I had one, but like Kelly said, school counselors were guidance counselors back then, and their roles were very, very different. I think one of the things I love so much is our work around pathways. So like when I was in high school, I feel like I took maybe an entrance inventory or something, but that's where it ended. I didn't get to explore how my particular interests or aptitudes could lead me to a career path. That was not a thing for me.
What is it about the pathways that you have now that makes them special?
Yeah, I think that they are so varied and that they are approachable. And we take this kind of big idea of what do you want to do with the rest of your life? What do you want to be when you grow up? And break it down into very digestible pieces. Okay, here's what you can do right now to get you ready for what's going to happen right here, and then here, and then here. We kind of step them along this pathway. It's not this big nebulous idea.
So what would you tell Andrea to do? So in terms of those pathways, how would you tell her to approach the pathways? Like how could she best take advantage of it in your district now?
I think, get connected to the career coach because those people are specifically trained and skilled at helping kids find their fit, whatever that is.
Right.
And then also, and I feel like we'll maybe talk about this later, getting them to kind of test drive those things that they think are good fits for them, because that's important too.
Yeah. John, what would young John do? If he were to go back in time, what do you wish he had an opportunity that you are giving current TCS students that would have benefited him back in the day?
Having grown up in a premier school system in the state of Alabama at the time I was there, career technical education was not something that received a lot of attention in the district that I was in. The opportunities for that were minimal at best, mostly in-house in a high school, less to have a district-wide initiative and push for students to understand that there's something outside of academic performance. So I would have told myself, if I could literally go back and say, it's just like, please go attempt something in career technical education. It's not, you can still be college ready. You can still take the college ready path, but also see how those skills are applicable in another space and really work on those, not just the soft skills, but just work on application skills outside of an academic mindset. So it's not just about solving problems in a math classroom. It's about taking that same knowledge, putting it into an application in that. So that was something that was lacking within my own experience. And then when I got to college and you're starting to deal with some of the struggles of translating from a controlled academic environment to a differently type of controlled academic environment with labs and and understandings and practicals was rough because my brain had been stretched, but I'd never been stretched in a way to apply it. And so I would go back and tell myself, career tech, you need to try that out because somebody's going to make you think differently in that situation. And it's going to be somebody that isn't necessarily a traditional educator, but someone with an industry mindset that's going to be able to make you flex that knowledge differently.
So thinking more about now where we are now in Tuscaloosa City, what would you say a parent who maybe had a child who has been in school for the last 4 or 5 years? You guys have been developing this comprehensive plan for 3 years. You're entering year 4. So a student, maybe a parent 4 years ago, what would they say is different now than what life was like 4 or 5 years ago before you started this plan?
I think that somebody from several years ago could speak to specific aspects of this at play in some of our schools, very much one-offs, very much dependent upon what elementary or middle or high school you attended. Whereas now I feel like our comprehensive CCR plan has really kind of permeated the culture of our district to the point that I sat in on an interview the other day and I heard a middle school principal kind of using our language when asking a question of a potential applicant.
Wow.
So I just thought that was the coolest thing.
That is powerful. Consistency and scale. You've managed to scale things. How many schools are in Tuscaloosa City?
21.
Total. 21 schools. That's not nothing.
Yes.
That's not nothing. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of adults and a lot of kids. You else want to share something that you think is different now, dramatically different?
Dramatic, I would say.
Maybe not dramatically, but different.
I would say that I think that our parents that could look back if they have kids from years past and they come in now, I think they have better access to their kids' data. And when I say access to their data, I'm not talking grades. I'm not saying, here's my grade book, they got an ABC. I'm saying their interests, like interest data, like what's available to them, not only academically, but what's available to them in just that career pathways. And that's been through the connections of some of our structures and platforms that we've been able to use to provide parents a look behind the veil. Because a lot of times parents feel very disconnected to a building and it feels rigid and it feels very structured. And we go in and we sit in a PTA meeting and we learn what's available because of the story that's being told by those who are in the room. But what we've done is we've opened these doors of communication with our parents to provide them more information, not just about the opportunities that we have, but also that which is available within the whole of our workforce development region, West Alabama, the state of Alabama as a whole, even to the point where we have some of those national connections to be able to connect them to different opportunities. So I would say that access to the data, the students' data and interest inventories and things like that is far more available for parents now than it was even 3 or 4 years ago. And part of that is systematic planning on our part, but the other part about that is the parents actually showing the interest in it. And I don't want to use the term demanding, but I want to say like wanting more and finding value in that and spreading the word amongst their peers that it's available, and that word of mouth really kind of growing that opportunity.
So John took some of what I was going to say, but what the other piece that I think we do really well is, and that a parent would say, okay, we've seen a lot of growth, is that we communicate. We tell our story well. Our kids know what the expectation is. Our parents know what the expectation is. They know that what opportunities are out there. So there's not ever, I didn't know this, or should never be I didn't know this. I think we've gotten much better at that and making sure that we tell our story and that our kids know that they have those opportunities out there.
What are some of the key levers of communication that you use?
Markham, you short. You got the big ones.
Yes. So I feel like there's maybe a different answer to that question depending on who we're communicating with. We've got our internal communication structures, which consist of a monthly CCR calendar. So that is something that's going to each individual high school administrators and school counselors. We're basically taking our huge comprehensive CCR plan and drilling down to a month-by-month look at that. So here's what's happening this month. And then most importantly, I think it's here's where the data is. So we are tracking our data at the school and at the student level on a monthly basis. And we're able to kind of celebrate that incremental progress and really focus in on where we might need some additional support. I think externally to our families and other stakeholders, it's our SMORE newsletter. So we have a branded SMORE newsletter that goes to all of our seniors and their parents and guardians on the first Friday of every month, like clockwork. And it is basically broken down as a senior timeline campaign. So it's the month of September. If you're planning on enrolling, here are the things that need to be on your to-do list. And it's going to look very different than if you're planning to enlist or planning to be employed. So I think just those very simple, low effort strategies are really
That's
working
awesome.
for us.
Kelly, as the director of College and Career Readiness, tell me about what started this idea of creating a comprehensive plan that you would develop for the whole school.
Absolutely.
Or for the whole district. I'm sorry, for the whole district.
Yeah, no. So I was sitting at graduation. My superintendent was sitting right in front of me. And he turned around and said, "How do we know they're ready?" And I was like, "Of course they're ready. They've got a diploma." And he was like, "No, but do we really know they're ready?" And I was like, "No, we really don't. We really don't know. The diploma is just a piece of paper. We're saying they did the bare minimum to get out of high school. That's what they did with that diploma." So we started talking about how we were going to systematically and strategically make sure that our kids not only graduate, but graduate with a confirmed post-secondary plan. As pieces of that, we needed to make sure that they were getting exposed and to all the other options that are out there. We like to say we have the Cheesecake Factory menu of options in Tuscaloosa City Schools. If you can't find something, it's because you're not looking. Because we definitely have a lot of opportunities for our kids. And so we used that conversation with him was kind of a launch piece for us to go, okay, let's go back and revisit what we're doing and how we're doing it. And for me, I think one of the big takeaways when you start talking about how do you help other systems or how do other systems maybe learn, one of the things we did that was super important right after that as we started working on our comprehensive plan is that we looked to see what we were doing, because everybody's doing stuff, what we were doing that directly supports what we're trying to accomplish, and then where we had gaps. So if we looked at, well, at the time it was a snake, and it started at kindergarten and it wound its way around to all the things we were doing to touch kids in the area of college and career readiness at each grade level. Now it looks more like a hamburger. There's a lot of overlapping because we've got so many more different and varied ways to lay hands on students and their parents to make sure that they understand that this is not just another thing they need to do, that we really are trying to get them ready for when they go out the door, that they're adequately prepared to move forward into the world.
What were some of the gaps that you found when you started looking?
Oh, well, we realized right away that we were laying hands on high school kids way more than we were talking to anybody else, which is never where college and career readiness needs to start. College and career readiness needs to start in pre-K. The whole thing starts at the very beginning. And this year is the first year that we are pushing down into pre-K, first and second grade. We partnered with our literacy team and we have purchased books about career readiness. We've purchased coloring books about career readiness. Our career coaches will be getting down in the habit, having little small conversations, because you're not talking about picking a career when you're in kindergarten, but we are going to talk about the opportunities that are out there besides being a fireman or a nurse or a teacher or a doctor. And then we're just continue to work that all the way through. We also recognize that there were some gaps in the middle school as well. So we as a team have implemented several things to help meet that need. And some of that's not just have a job fair or have a career fair. A lot of it is making sure that the administration understands what you're trying to accomplish. And how do you embed that into your school day? How do you make sure that your teachers have at least some accountability for college and career readiness in their building?
So now that you've been doing it for 3 years, having this comprehensive plan, what data you're very data informed. So what data is showing you that you're doing something right, that things are going in the right direction?
John Walker, this is you.
I guess, John, you're the assessment man. He's got
Right, do it, John.
So from the moment that the comprehensive CCR plan rolled out, which was, y'all correct, in 2022, which was when we first started, we were seeing about a 74% of our graduates leaving with a college and career readiness indicator. Over the past 4 years, from 2022 to till now, we have seen a 22% growth in our seniors leaving with a college and career readiness indicator, meaning that it has jumped to 96.3%. So from 74 to 96. So we've seen about a 22% increase over that 4-year time.
Can you, for people who maybe don't live in Alabama, share what some of those indicators are?
Markham?
For college career?
Let me
Andrea?
grab that real quick. Yeah, so in the state of Alabama, there are 9, and it's anything ranging from a benchmark score on any subsection of the ACT to a benchmark score on all 3 sections of the ACT Work Keys assessment, a qualifying score on an AP exam or an IB exam, college credit attainment through a dual enrollment program, attaining what's called CTE completer status, which basically means a student has taken 3 sequenced courses within a specific CTE program and earned at least a C or better as a final grade in each of those courses. They can also earn a CTE credential. They can actually enlist in the military, or they can complete a registered youth apprenticeship. So
you have seen a 20%
options.
jump in the number of students who are meeting at least one of those?
Yeah.
At minimum one.
At
Some
minimum
have multiple.
one. Many have multiple.
At minimum
I'm sure.
one.
So that's just one data point. You could probably go on with other things. I want to move forward though around some of the more specific programs and structures that are part of this plan. One of them is partnerships. What are the partnerships, institutions, industry, other schools, other organizations that have been essential to making this work, building career and college readiness?
So we are very lucky in our area because we have a very workforce development group. Our chamber and West Alabama Works is very dedicated to increasing the workforce, and we are at the table with them. They meet quarterly, and not only do they meet quarterly as a big group, they meet quarterly as pathways like health science and that kind of thing. And so we're at the table. We like to say, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So, and we don't ever want to be on the menu, because I've been there. When I first came in, there was a lot of conversation about why are your kids not coming to work for me when they leave. And so I think that was a big piece of that, was how do you get in front of people and let them know that we want to know what you need to get our kids where they're employable for you. We're not going to tell you what you need because we don't know, but if you'll give us the guidance, we'll make sure that happens. So I think that our partnership with our industries is huge. So much so that I would say we interact with them at least once a week and in some capacity, whether it's with industry or with our Regional Workforce Development Council. Also, we have great partnerships with our post-secondary institutions. We actually met with one of them this morning. We don't hesitate to pick up the phone. We actually asked about 3 new programs when we were in there. How do we get this in place for our kids? So I feel like those partnerships are huge, but it requires that you go and have conversation. You can't sit in your silo and expect people to come and do for you. And we do not ask people for money. I mean, our goal is not to get money, get them to write us a check. Our goal is to get you to engage with our kids.
I didn't realize Tuscaloosa had post-secondary institutions. That's interesting. Interesting that you talked about community partnerships. And how about that in the lower grades? Have you seen that bearing fruit, bringing those partnerships in terms of helping them connect in the middle school? Because I've worked in a lot of middle schools where we try to do career exploration and engagement. And I have found that when those folks come into the classrooms, it changes a lot around how kids connect to what they're learning. I was wondering if you have any examples of where that building of partnerships has impacted some of the academic or selectives in some of the lower grades.
Absolutely. I'll start. They can all jump in. We've got several examples. West Lawn Middle School is a great example for us. Fight for Wire has come into West Lawn Middle School not only to support financially, but to support with having people in the building to have conversations with students. And it's been huge. It's been life-changing in that building. There have been kids that have rolled straight out of there wanting to go into our CTE programs because they've had adults in there talking to them about the opportunities that are not just tied strictly to post-secondary work. So I think West Lawn's a great example of what we have going on. We also have a doctor school in all of our schools, which gives industry the opportunity to come in to any of our K-12 schools and participate in multiple arenas. And here again, a lot of that is not, we're going to give you money. It's that we're going to be present in the building.
Any other examples of of partnerships coming into classrooms and working with kids?
I think, and maybe it's not so much bringing the opportunity to the students as it is taking the students to the opportunity. So one of the things that I love so much is really an idea we ripped off from West Alabama Works. They have a program called WOW, which is a huge career exploration opportunity for our students. It's been in 8th grade at one point. Now it's in 9th grade. But we've kind of tailored that in the district to create an opportunity for our 4th grade students that we call Mini WOW. So it's basically them getting over to our career and technical academy and getting to interact with high school students who are taking those CTE courses and also engage in some sort of activities related to that CTE pathway. That's one of my favorite things that we do.
That sounds like a full WOW.
Yeah,
it's a mini WOW.
It's mini WOW.
It's a mini WOW and a full WOW.
That's a full size WOW to me.
And
what about
WOW was standing for World of Work. So the WOW is an overarching structure.
Okay.
So that's where I would offer up just one additional thing that we partner with WOW, and that would be if we're talking about getting people into classrooms, that connection of partnerships into classrooms would be the Educator Workforce Academy that we partner with the Chamber of Commerce and the Worlds of Work platform, which is most of our, if not all of our building leaders have gone through this Educator Workforce Academy where they leave their schools, they go and partner with other leaders in other schools and visit local industry and those industry leaders and industry partners. Now, that turns into a day-long event of just systematic meet and greet, but also conversations around industry saying, this is what we need. This is where we're headed. This is our longitudinal plan for this workforce development area. And the teachers and leaders in those buildings hearing that can go back and make connections to curriculum. And a lot of times those conversations elicit visits because those teachers go and they hear the industry leaders saying, hey, we'd love to come visit and tell your kids about this. And so it's opening those doors and bringing people from industry back into the classrooms. So those partnerships and those sustained partnerships over time. So I think we're now on cohort. They're on cohort
now,
5 or 6.
Which types, is that all like a cross-section of teachers, of academic teachers and career teachers?
So yes, but let's back up just a second. It was started with strictly administration involved.
Okay.
We put all our administrators through all our central office people went through with the goal being that that especially our elementary and our middle people understood not only the opportunities that were out there, but that there's a place for them. They need to be there as well. And so that's kind of how it all started. And now we've pushed down into counselors. We've started pushing our counselors. So as a matter of fact, the majority of the counselors have already gone through. We've got some new ones that haven't. And then we started with team leads at the high school. So we're just incrementally pushing in to get teachers exposed to this as we continue to grow.
Going back to the plan, the plan, right? Comprehensive career readiness plan. If a district is thinking about building this, what are some of the core structures? Like I know you've sort of talked about career coaches, right? That sounds like an important structure that you need to have in place. And you've talked about communication, using different methods of communication. What are some other core components of a plan that you would recommend?
I think one of the things you have to have is administrator support at your central office level. You have to have your people that are above you understanding what you're trying to accomplish and supporting that. And it needs to be tied to what your strategic plan is for your system. If we're not tied to our strategic plan, we are two big rocks in our strategic plan. So we know not only do we have a lot of responsibility, but it also gives us the opportunity to go and go, hey, we want to get better, help us get better, give us money, give us people, whatever we need. So you have to have that support as one of your first pieces of structure. Markham, I know you were fixing to say something.
Yeah, I think if I put on my data analyst hat, it's got to be the data. Like, what data are we collecting? What are we using it to do? How are we using it to make decisions? And then what structures are we implementing to track the data?
What was some of the data? Is there any like specific data that you collected that truly opened your eyes to what was happening and maybe showed some, like I talked about gaps earlier, but any other data points that you would direct people to start digging up, Andrea?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest eye openers is that at one point in time, we were just kind of throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what stuck. Like, we were all over the place. There was no consistency. There was no coordination of what we were doing. We had kids hopping in and out of every single pathway at Tuscaloosa Career and Technology Academy and not ever finding a single one to pursue a second course in. So in order for us to kind of figure that out, we had to track both like district level data, but also student level data to be able to say with specificity, this particular kid at this particular school has done or is doing this particular thing.
So what would you pull to see that? How would you figure that? How did you see that visually that this was happening?
Yeah, a lot of it was the transcript audits. So as part of the schedule process or even identifying students who could potentially become CTE completers, because remember, that's one of those 9 CCRIs in the state of Alabama. It's looking at the transcript and just kind of seeing kind of anecdotal evidence at first of, here's this one kid in 6 different pathways, and then finding additional students that kind of supported that observation, and then getting really clear and specific with, okay, a senior who's about to graduate from high school should not be registered for an intro level CTE class. Like that's not what we're trying to do here.
He's just building a schedule to be
we're
there.
Filling a period.
They need to drop and plop.
It's worth saying that the data and the things that we review, this is not something there's no easy silver bullet to just knock it out. Like it literally, people have to pour, and that's why having the career coaches in the building and having your administration buy-in to look over that data and really be mindful in the reviews of that data is super, super helpful. So we've had people come to us and say, how are you doing all of this data analysis? And we just have to say, we're doing it by hand, and we're doing it with bodies and human touch to be able to tell those stories and connect with those kids, because you can't just feed it into the computer and it's going to pop out and say, hey, by the way. So, and it's that incremental review and just learning from that process of where are you actually getting that good data from. So there is a human touch on all of that data collection.
It's not just a button.
It's not a report.
It's not a report.
Not a button.
So thinking about this plan that you have and how you've wanted to make it, and you said the thing that's really, one of the things that's changed is sort of K through 12. So you have 3 E's: exposure, exploration, and engagement. So explain what those 3 E's are and how they relate to the different grade levels.
Who wants to start?
Yeah, I'll go. Okay, so we feel like exposure is probably most appropriate at our younger grade levels, but also applicable everywhere, because we're really interested in making students and their families aware of things that they maybe haven't heard of before. I feel like kids have a pretty good idea of what their parents do for work, but they may not be as familiar with something in another sector that they don't have a direct family member working in. So we want to make sure that our kids know, hey, here in West Alabama, we've got a really, really booming manufacturing industry, especially around automotives. So we want to make sure kids know that, like, hey, I can work at Mercedes, but I don't have to necessarily work on the production line. So just exposing them to all the different areas that are possible for them.
And you talked about how you've had the books that you got you partnered with your literacy team.
Mhm.
You talked about Mini Wow.
Yeah.
The world of work. And are there other ways that you've helped those younger grades see and be exposed to the world of career opportunities just to get them interested?
Well, this year we are putting in place Zello is our CCR platform that we use. We currently have it in place, and we wanted to push it on down all the way down to third grade. So we are doing that, which gives our kids the opportunity to do a lot of more exploration, but also we partner that with our advisory process. So we have advisory, and our teachers, these beautiful people that I work with, are super smart, and they helped lay out advisory for the high school. It meets not only some state requirements that we have, but also it meets our requirements to help our kids get guided in the correct pathway. So they've laid out advisory for the teachers. It's a push and play. All they have to do is go click on it and put it in place for their kids in their classroom. And it gives us, because we use it gives us some good metrics so that we can see not only who's engaged and who's not engaged, but it also gives the administration the opportunity to go in and go, hey, Ms. Norstrom, I'm looking and none of your kids have done this. And this is one of the things that they need to do. It gives the administration, I'm going to say teeth for lack of a better word, because a lot of times you don't know. You just have to take the teacher's word that they're doing what they say they're doing. Whereas this, we get the metric to know whether the kids have been engaged in it.
We have a saying, people play different when they know the score.
That's right.
And so by seeing the engagement with some of this platform, it actually increases the engagement in the platform.
Yes. And can I add something to that?
Please.
Kind of a throwback to a comment you made earlier. It's not just that we're doing this to check the box.
Right.
There are also opportunities for teachers who are serving this dual role as advisors to relate what the kids are doing in Zello to their content area. So there are lesson plans that exist for how you can talk about chemistry, but through the lens of career exploration. So it really serves multiple purposes for us and meets multiple needs for our buildings and our kids.
And now, John, maybe you could just take a little bit about what do you think has led to, what do you think are some keys to a leader who's trying to get parents more involved in this work?
So anytime you're talking about connecting with parents, for me, and in the scope of my roles that I have had, post-COVID, we grew to a place of communication being somewhat disconnected from the building itself. Like we had this world where in order to talk about my child's education, I have to go to the school and talk about my child's education. And so from that point, we have moved into a world post-pandemic that connective tissue doesn't necessarily have to take place inside the little red schoolhouse. That can take place virtually. That can take place through platforms. So if you're choosing to need that type of engagement, you need to be looking for tools that allows you, A, not only to engage, but B, to verify that they are actually engaging. So we go back to some more of those newsletters. We go back to a platform that can support that engagement, and then infrastructure within your system and having those leaders to buy into providing you the infrastructure for what you're trying to do to build that connective tissue with your parents. And you're going to see it. It's going to happen if you are and you've got to onboard your parents to that. And that means getting your administrative buy-in in your schools to reaching out and having your teachers have an understanding of that. So the connective tissue is no longer coming to us at the school. We've got to literally push out to the parents. And that also means providing, I hate to say platforms, but providing opportunities for parents to engage not only with their students and the teachers, but the leaders and the district.
I want to push in on that a little bit, if that's okay.
Please.
One of the things that I feel like it's been really important is that we have done a lot of advertising as it relates within the community itself. And when we do that, we use our own students. We put them on billboards, we put them on posters, we put them on whatever. What's your E? And I've got a welder up there. and he's one of our own kids. We have signs at all of our events, every football field, every softball field, every baseball field. What's your E? Do you have a plan? That's out there. We want parents to say, why are they asking what's your E? So that so that the communication takes place, because we all know kids get in the car and the mom goes, hey, how was your day? And they go, fine. Did you learn anything? No. And that's the end. It doesn't go past that. So we want parents to be asking the questions of why, what's your E, and why do I keep seeing this everywhere? So I think that's, and how do I get my kid up on that billboard on the highway?
And Andrea, can you explain to us how you have brought what's your E, that question, and what that means to you in the context of your overall plan?
Yeah. So I think when we started this conversation, we said one of the things that was really important to us is that every one of our students graduates with a confirmed post-secondary plan, so that they know the day after graduation what it is that they're going to be doing. And we give them kind of 3 broad options. They can enroll in a post-secondary institution or in a training program. They can enlist in a branch of the military, or they can be employed either by themselves or by someone else. So everything we do kind of filters through this question of what's your E? Okay, that you want to go to college because the career path that you're interested in requires a bachelor's degree. Fantastic. Because of that, we know that we want to get you connected to dual enrollment programming, or that you want to enlist in the military. So that means that we need to be talking to you about our various JROTC options at each of our high schools, or that you're not interested in going to college, but you're really good at working with your hands and you want to start making money the day after you graduate. So let's get you connected to some of those local employers that can hire you in a career pathway that's going to get you wherever it is that you want to go. So then that's part of the conversation with the school counselors and the career coaches. You say that you want to enroll in college. Well, let's look at ACT score and GPA, and let's start exploring scholarship opportunities for you. Okay, it's college application week. We're applying to the University of Alabama. Let's make sure that we're watching for that acceptance letter to come through. That's the confirmed piece for us. It's not enough for our kids to just say, yeah, I'm going to do this. We want the receipt.
And you want the receipts.
Yes.
I love it. And what about what's the E for sleeping on your parents' couch or
It's not
in the
an
basement,
option.
eating
It's
Cheerios
not an option.
in your bathrobe?
Not
That's
an
not
option.
on the list. That's not.
No.
And we've had parents ask if they want to do this, then why are you asking them? If they say they want to do this, and we've had them come ask us some serious questions like, why are you up in my kid's business once they're gone? But
That's
we have
right.
to say, let's figure out what we can do to support them in that moment. And we've had some very non-traditional options show up that we wanted to document.
Such
like,
as?
hey, but
Tattoo artist.
Yep. Fantastic. Let's find
that's
an
employed.
apprenticeship.
That's
And we
important.
found an apprenticeship.
Find an apprenticeship.
Well, I tell you something that I feel like needs to just be highlighted for half a second, and that's the fact that we follow these kids for a year. After they
Yes.
graduate, we follow them to make sure that their confirmed post-secondary plan is what they're continuing to do. And if they have changed or they've moved into another situation, we try to support that by connecting them back to people that we know can help them.
And let's talk data about post-secondary plan for just a second. The year after Kelly received the question, the catalyst question, the infamous question, how do we know they're ready? We looked the next year and 73% of our seniors at that point could say, this is my post-secondary plan. After 4 years, we know with this last cohort that we had 97.4% of our seniors, we knew where they were going when they walked out the door. We knew what was happening. And then when Kelly, if we look back one cohort year, last year's cohort, 95% of the seniors that walked out of the building last year had a confirmed post-secondary plan. And then we did those follow-ups at 6 months, and we did another follow-up 1 year later. 6 months after we talked to them, after they walked out our doors and got their diplomas, of that 95%, 86% of them were still doing what they said they were going to do. And 1 year after that, 85% of them were still doing what they were going to do. So again, 85 of 95, there's a numbers game of that. And we lose some because it's harder to get in touch with them. There's no connective tissue to the building to get them back. And numbers change, life happens, people move. But to know a full year out, like Kelly said, that we still have 85% of those seniors that walk out the door are still on that pathway lets us know that that exposure that they're getting to those opportunities for that enrollment, that enlisting or being employed in a workforce field is sticking in some shape or form.
Yeah.
That's huge. I mean,
Susan Simpson, can you share some of your thoughts or any other questions?
One thing that people talk about is, graduation rate, right? Or who's going to college. Very few entities are actually following up after graduation in a cohesive way like that. And so by you sharing that, I hope that anyone who would listen to this would say, hey, gosh, that sounds like a big undertaking, but what would it take for us to see student success as more than just graduating and leaving our school system? It sounds simple, but that is such a big deal. So it excites me.
Well, thank you all so much. We could, again, keep going. You guys have an in-depth, truly comprehensive plan that is helping all the students in Tuscaloosa City Schools think about what opportunities and what possibilities are out there. And there's really no reason anybody would graduate without having a firm understanding about what they might want to do and how they would get there. And that's a big deal. So thank you all. And we look forward to seeing you again, maybe in Nashville next summer, and for wonderful, great stuff you're doing. Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode brought to you by the Southern Regional Education Board. SREB is a nonprofit dedicated to improving education from pre-K all the way to PhD and into the workforce. Visit sreb.org for resources on instructional practices, teacher data, career pathways, and more. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook at SREB-School Improvement and on Twitter/X and Instagram, both at SREB Education. See you next week.